welcome back. We have the Christmas mug, we have the Christmas jumper, we have the sparkly red lipstick. So it must be another Vlogmas video. Welcome to Vlogmas Day 2. This is going to be my November wrap-up, and obviously, therefore, Vlogmas Day 3 will be my December TBR. So you know what to expect tomorrow, so make sure you're subscribed so that that lands right in your subscription feed. I will, of course, be putting all of this into my Vlogmas 2018 playlist, which I will leave linked up here in case you missed yesterday's, you know. Yesterday's was just a short introduction and a little sneak peek at my December TBR as well. So, I had a pretty good reading month in November. However, a lot of the things that I read were audiobooks, so I don't have all of them to show you. You know, sometimes I have physical copies of the audiobooks that I'm talking about. This one, not so much. I've got some, but not all of them. So there's going to be a lot of, I read this one. I'll leave it linked below. Apologies for that, but hey ho. Okay, let's start with the one Kindle book I read. I read Every Colour of You by Amelia Mandeville, which made me cry way more than I was expecting it to. It was just going along happily, okay? It's a bit of a teen rom-com with some mental health issues, well discussed. And then we hit a point and the tears just kept coming, and I had to finish it in bed because I got to the point where I just had to finish it. And so the tears were just rolling backwards into my ears. You know how it is. I do have a review of that one already on my blog, so I will leave that in the comments, not the comments, the description box below, where my blog is always linked along with all my social media channels. Then physical books. I do have some physical books to show you. You may remember my non-fiction November books to meet the challenges video that I posted. If not, I will leave it linked up here. I had 4 books that I was reading for non-fiction November, and 2 of them were physical books. The first one of those being Happier Thinking by Lana Grace Reaver. This one was a very quick read. I just read it over breakfast one morning. A lot of the things in it were quite straightforward and quite sort of easy to remember and easy to take on board, and probably stuff that I do anyway, but there were some things that I did sort of think, oh yeah, I remember that. Yes, I'll remember to think about that kind of thing. And each of the chapter headings is a reminder as well, which she lists in the back of the book, which I think is really helpful. And so this might be something that I refer back to. Like I say, it wasn't anything revolutionary, but I do quite like how plain this is. I think it might work better as an ebook, but hey, I have a physical copy of it. Then I have Feminists Don't Wear Pink and Other Lies, which is curated by Scarlett Curtis. I have a whole video coming up next week about this one, so I'm not going to talk any more about it other than to say, if you don't watch that video, just know that I love this book and you should read it because it's amazing. Then I did a buddy read of Dear Evan Hansen, which is based on the Broadway musical. It is the YA novel adaptation, and I'm going to make a video talking about this one as well. So again, I'm not going to talk too much about it here. I read it with 2 other people, which was quite fun, and it does have accompanying music that goes with the various different chapters, so it ties in with the show. Haven't seen the show, probably would like to see the show. I think I wanted to see it already, and then having read the book, I now know that I definitely want to see it, so there we go. Then I read Girls Can't Hit by T.S. Easton, who is the author of Boys Don't Knit, which I read last year. And there is one, I think it's called An English Boy in New York, that goes in between these 2. This, as you can see from the cover, is about a girl who decides to join a boxing club and the fun and frolics that ensues henceforth. This is a real feminist piece of writing, and the author does address in the back how he wrote a feminist novel for a young adult audience, being a man and how he got on with that, and the advice that he took from other people, and he does thank people specifically for their help in the back of the book. It was a really good story. It made me laugh just as much as Boys Don't Knit did. I think I read it in 2 sittings, and I want to know what happens next, which is always a great way to end a book, so definitely recommend this one. And then you might remember I made a video called I read a graphic novel, which I will leave linked up here if you haven't already seen it. And so I read some more graphic novels this month. Last month I read the first in the Paper Girls series, and so this month I read the next 2 in the Paper Girls series. So volume 2 and volume 3, and spoiler alert, volume 4 will be on my December TBR. I did think about cramming volume 4 into this month, but then I was like, no, I want to take my time. And volume 5 comes out in December, so I'm going to be able to read that in December as well. So I thought, yeah, this is about time travel to some extent, but again, it's very kind of feminist and very groups of girls being feminists, which you don't often see in a book. So I'm enjoying reading this, and I'm enjoying peppering a short read in amongst my novels and my audiobooks that I'm listening to. I tend to find myself reading these over breakfast, a bit like the Happier Thinking book. So that's become a little bit of a routine for me, because I also, on the advice of Beautifully Bookish Bethany, read the first in the Giant Days series, and I really enjoyed this one. I've been trying to work out, unless it tells you, I don't think it tells you, but I've been trying to work out from the beginning. Yeah, I don't think it tells you what university it's set in, because I'm pretty sure it's a UK university, but I'm not sure if it might be a Scottish university, which excites me because I went to university in Scotland. But yes, I really enjoyed this, and I will definitely be trying to read more in this series, but I might give it a break and wait and read in January, because there are a lot of these in the series. There is also a novelisation by Non Pratt of this series. I'm like, do I read the novel? Do I carry on reading the graphic novels? Which do I read first? So if you have read the graphic novels and the novelisation as well, let me know which way round I should do it. If I am definitely planning on reading both, please do let me know in the comments, definitely. Then on to audiobooks. On my non-fiction November challenge video, I said that there were 2 audiobooks that I was going to listen to, and I did read both of these at the very start of the month as well, and I just so enjoyed both of them. The first one was This Will Only Hurt a Little by Busy Phillips. This was just an incredibly honest memoir. She goes into a lot of things that I didn't expect her to go into. She seems to hurt her knees a lot as well, but it was just really enjoyable, and she's not necessarily an actress I know an awful lot about. I sort of first came across her in ER, and she talks about her experience in ER as well, and then I obviously watched Cougar Town, and so saw her in that. She talks about her relationships, she talks about her pregnancies, she talks about her childhood, and she talks very openly about her career as well, and the different kind of ups and downs of her career, which I thought was really interesting. Then I listened to I'll Be There For You, which is the one about Friends, and it was just so good. I am a huge Friends fan, in case you didn't already know. I am just a massive Friends fan. Growing up, I couldn't get, it was, they moved to Sky One, and we didn't have Sky at that point, and so a friend used to record them for me and then give me the video the next day to watch, so I could watch the Friends videos. And then it was just, yeah, I was obsessed with watching it when it was on TV. I would buy the videos the day they came out. I had all the videos, and then when they switched to DVDs, I had all the DVDs. I then got rid of the DVDs and got the Blu-ray box set. So I have the Blu-ray box set, and now they're also on Netflix, so I can watch them whenever. The other day we were staying in a hotel, I put the TV on, Friends was on there. She talks about that in that book, and it was just, yeah, I identified so much with the book. I think the writer is almost exactly the same age as me, because she described where she was when Friends began and where she was when Friends ended. I had to watch the last episode of Friends on my own when it aired, because my friend who I normally watched it with wasn't caught up. And I was at university at the time, so I literally sat in my room at university and watched it on my little TV on my own, crying again. This video has a lot about me crying in it. You only see me happy. I do cry at stuff. I cry at films, I cry at books, I cry at TV shows. It's true. So yeah, definitely recommend that one. And I think it was a really good audio as well. I'm glad I did the audio, but I wouldn't rule out investing in the actual physical book as well. Then a couple of road trip listens. Listened to the audiobook of A Life in Parts by Bryan Cranston. You know, if it's a memoir, I really like listening to the author themselves read it, and so I really enjoyed listening to this one, and we listened to this one on the way back from Vegas, so we could talk about it. I am not a Breaking Bad fan, but I was a Malcolm in the Middle fan, and I enjoyed the film that he did with Megan Mullally and James Franco. I think it was called Why Him. It was last Christmas. I really enjoyed that. But yeah, this was really interesting. And again, he is somebody who shows you the ups and downs of his career, and is somebody that worked so hard in his career. I didn't even realise that he'd been working for as long as he had done. So that was really interesting. And then on the way to Vegas, and slightly on the way back as well, because it is a long audiobook, an audiobook that is longer than the road trip from Denver to Vegas. It's a good one to have. We listened to Becoming by Michelle Obama, which obviously I loved. I had it pre-ordered on Audible, so it's landed on my phone, ready for the road trip, like the Thursday before we left. And it was, yeah, it was great. I'm really pleased that she made it about her and didn't just talk about her time in the White House or her time as the First Lady. Obviously, being First Lady, she was First Lady for 8 years, and then all the campaigning that she did before that for the year and a half to 2 years before that is a massive chunk of her life. But she talks about her childhood, she talks about her own career path, her choice to have a family, her relationships, her choice for education, and I learned a lot about Chicago in this one, which is obviously where she's from. I feel like I knew nothing about it to begin with, and now I know a lot more about it, and it was great how passionate she is throughout the whole book. It was really inspiring and made me want to do more. Which, yeah, it was inspiring and entertaining, and I learned a lot, which is always great in an audiobook. And obviously it's read by her, so I really recommend doing the audio. Again, wouldn't rule out getting the physical copy though, because it would probably have pictures in, so there we go. Then I listened to a book called Gross Anatomy, which is by Mara Altman. And she covers, it's non-fiction, and she covers different parts of, not body positivity, different aspects of the body that she has had issues with that aren't necessarily parts of the body or the issues that people will talk about. They're more taboo. So she talks about hair removal, for example, shaving, waxing, electrolysis, where, how, who, how much, how painful. She talks about hemorrhoids. She talks about sex noise, which has a scientific term, which I didn't know. She talks about, I'm trying to think what she talks about now. She talks about obviously like weight and like wrinkles and things like that. And again, it was really brutally honest. I could identify with so much of what she was saying about body upkeep and attitudes to these, what are basically taboo subjects. And I'm so pleased that somebody eventually has come out and started talking about them. In this age of, you know, a lot of books on body positivity, it's great that people are talking about the more taboo subjects as well. So if you have any more recommendations on books that that cover, like I say, taboo aspects of body positivity, then definitely leave them below so that other people can see them as well as me. Then another one which I literally just finished on audiobook, and that is In Pieces by Sally Field. I went to an event with Sally Field and heard her talking about this book, and this is my signed copy, but I did still buy the audiobook on Audible because it's read by her, so naturally I had to, you know by now that I listened to the memoirs read by the authors. And yeah, so I have a vlog coming up of that event footage next week on this channel, so you can look forward to that. This was really interesting as well. It's definitely a memoir rather than an autobiography, because it doesn't cover everything, and although it is chronological, it kind of will jump forwards and kind of link back a little bit as well. But yeah, again, it's massively honest. I like the fact that everybody writing these books are being so honest, because I, as a reader / listener, really appreciate that in writing. And well, I mean, also when I'm reading books as well, all the honesty. She doesn't hold back on any subject. She talks about home, she talks about family, she talks about money, she talks about, you know, things that have happened to her that aren't very nice. And so yeah, I really appreciated the honesty, and now I'm going to go back through and look at the pictures in the book, because I do have a physical copy of this one. Then I listened to, on another road trip that we did, I listened to Springfield Confidential by Mark, I think it's Rice, R-E-I-S-S, which is about his time writing at The Simpsons and kind of the evolution of The Simpsons, but he does go into his own writing career as well. And it is, he does this weird thing where he puts some truths and some lies in there, and I kind of thought the lies in there were almost kind of trying to be funny, but they weren't always. They sometimes distracted from what he was saying. So overall the book was good, but the fact that he decided that he was going to have lies in there was a bit odd, an odd choice that I didn't necessarily appreciate. But again, as a Simpsons fan, I enjoyed it. Listened to one book about Friends, one book about Simpsons. It's just, you know, my evolution in TV watching, and I read about it all. Okay, and then I listened to Whiskey in a Teacup by Reese Witherspoon. The audio of this one is a lot shorter than the actual book, because it comes with a PDF with pictures and recipes and lists and things like that in, which would be part of the main book. So whilst this is read by Reese, and so I enjoyed listening to it, I basically listened to it all in one sitting, because I think it's less than 4 hours. So I would probably recommend the physical book over the audiobook in this case, just so you can have the recipes with what she's talking about and see the pictures of what she's talking about as she's talking about them. Yeah, that's kind of my stance on that one. But it was entertaining, and it was interesting hearing from her, and interesting hearing about kind of Southern traditions as well, and what those are and how to make the most of them. And then I listened to Someday by David Levithan, which is the third in the Everyday series. We've got Everyday, Another Day. It is Another Day, isn't it? And then Someday is the third one. I am going to make a video talking about the trilogy, because when the film came out of Everyday, I did say I was going to make a video talking about the 2 books, but then I found out that the 3rd book was coming out. Kind of kept it very quiet releasing this one. So I'm going to make a video talking about the 3 of these, so just look for that coming up in your subscription feed soon. And then I did read a part of a book as well, but I'm going to include that in my chat about my December TBR, because my December TBR has some specifics on it, some specific kind of headlines and categories that I'm pushing my books into and hoping to read them all. I think it's way too ambitious for it being December, because let's face it, I just want to sit down and watch Christmas films. And also, I'm going back to the UK for Christmas and we leave on like the 18th, so there's not going to be a whole lot of reading time. But anyway, that's tomorrow's video. Thank you very much for watching this one. If you have made it this far, definitely let me know in the comments. I always say that and then I don't get any comments that say that, so I think perhaps maybe nobody made it this far. Everybody stopped after 5 minutes or less. I'm sorry it was so long, but I wanted to give you my opinion on the books that I read because I read some things that I didn't expect to. I think I did quite a lot of non-fiction for non-fiction November. I think there was only the graphic novels plus 3 fiction reads in there, so that's not too bad. And I found myself seeking out non-fiction rather than fiction when I was looking for a new audiobook listen or a new book to pick up. I almost started another non-fiction audiobook, but I'm glad that I didn't because I have a non-fiction book that is getting rolled over to December. So there we go. Yes, I will be back with my December TBR for you tomorrow. So make sure you're subscribed so that lands in your subscription feed. Give this video a thumbs up, please, if you enjoyed it. And I will see you tomorrow. Bye.